There are many great games out there. There are many games that can be considered the greatest of all time. But there is only one that is the true greatest, at least in my opinion, game of all time. And if you've read the title of this video, you probably know what that game is. That's right, baby. I'm talking about Ratchet and Clank 2 Going Commando. Or if you live in Australia, it's called Locked and Loaded. And if you live in Japan, it's called, something Japanese. You see, what something like Endgame is to Infinity War, Ratchet and Clank 2 is to Ratchet and Clank 1. Everything that was done well in the predecessor was done just as good, if not better, in the sequel. Except maybe the villain, but other than that, yeah. Now, of course, the sequel doesn't undermine the greatness of the original, because you can still have a good time with the original, but the sequel is just that much better. Now, before I talk about why this game is just as good as getting a hug from that girl you've been crushing on for months, let me explain my history with this game. It was the year 2004, and my family just got a PS2 for Christmas. Came with a couple games, Gran Turismo 3, Crazy Taxi, most importantly, this demo disc. This demo disc came with some pretty good demos. Okay, well, 3 pretty good demos. Need for Speed Underground, Downhill Demolition, and the greatest demo of all time, the Ratchet and Clank 2 demo. The demo came with the iconic testing facility level, the giant Clank section of said testing facility level, and one of the space levels. For a demo, this is a lot of content, and as a kid it was enough to satisfy me. Something that I took note of was the fact that the graphics were better than anything I had played on the original PlayStation, and how satisfying it was to do everything. Jumping, feeding enemies, upgrading your guns. It was fantastic. So naturally, I asked my parents if I could buy the game. Just a few days before my birthday, my dad took me to Walmart so I could buy it. And it was the best purchases I had ever made. Well, he ever made. And on that night, me and my friend played it to our 5-year-old heart's content. We also played the V Smile, but that's not important. Many games from the early 2000s have graphics that do not hold up well. Like, have you played Driver 2 recently? Yeah, it's a fun game, but those graphics do not hold up well. On the other end, Ratchet and Clank 2 still looks great by today's standards. The animations are lively, it's colorful, and each world feels distinct. Still to this day I know every planet's name, what the planet's theme was, and what your mission was on each planet. It's that well designed. Once you complete a planet, you look forward to the next one almost immediately. Each enemy, each vehicle, each level structure fits the world perfectly. Nothing feels out of place. Similar to Insomniac's previous game series, Spyro, each level is accompanied by a video, whether it be an ad for a product, security camera, or help transmission. This gives the world so much personality, and it makes you want to explore them even more. My favorite level by far is Uzla, which is this abandoned Megacorp outlet that over time has turned into a swamp, which is kind of like what my local shopping center is like now that I think about it. Just because the aesthetic is good doesn't automatically mean the level design is. Fortunately for Ratchet and Clank 2, the level design is top-notch. Each level has something special going for it. My favorite is the secret boss found in the sewers of Uzla. I don't know, that's just something that you'd never think was there, but they just added it in anyway. I mean, who would have thought of that? Each level typically has 2 paths that you can go down, but the few that only have one typically have something interesting at the end. Once again, this keeps the player excited for what comes next. Not only that, but each level typically has at least one new weapon to buy, which is rad. Again, exciting. Each level from the tutorial level has platinum bolts which can be used to purchase weapon mods for your gun.
This again gives more incentive to explore the levels. Another great thing about the levels is now sometimes they incorporate different gameplay styles which don't distract from the platforming and shooting. I guess now is a perfect time as any to talk about those extra gameplay styles. Since you guys don't have all the time in the world, I'll just analyze these very quickly and explain why some work and some don't. I know! Even the best game in the world has problems! These are alright. They're basic dogfighting levels that can be fun in short bursts. But I feel like they can be a little too long. It's cool that you get to customize your ship, though. The best extra game mode in the game. In fact, it's so good that they made a fully fledged game of it just 2 years later. Great stuff. I'm one of the few that doesn't mind the Clank levels in the Ratchet and Clank series. They're a nice change of pace, and they're short enough to not be a nuisance. Again, these aren't as good as, like, the Clank levels, say, from A Crack in Time, but hey, they're not bad. These are neat. The hoverbike control's pretty good, and it feels pretty good to master. I'd love to see a game based off of these. Make it happen, Insomniac. For the first time in a Ratchet and Clank game, open world levels are introduced, and they're okay. They're good ways to grind bolts, the enemies are a pain, but thankfully you are given a mining vehicle to get around faster later on. The last gameplay style is one where Clank goes giant and fight other giant mechs on moons. It's like if you took Godzilla and combined it with the Little Prince, and it rocks. Giant Clank's punches feel heavy, the music is grand, and the bosses are fun and challenging. So yeah, the extra gameplay styles are great and do not detract from the main gameplay at all, but there's still so much to talk about, so why would we stop here? The Ratchet and Clank series is known for its weapons, and this game has some of the best out of all of them. Not all of them are winners, but most of the time they're pretty good. My favorites are the lava gun, which is a gun that shoots out a stream of lava and it's grossly overpowered, the blitz gun, which is the best shotgun ever in a video game, and the plasma storm, which fires a bolt of plasma and electricity which damages both its target and shocks nearby enemies. It's just as brutal as it sounds. After killing enough enemies, your weapon will gain experience and eventually upgrade it into a better, more powerful gun. This can give you incentive to use all the guns in your arsenal. Also, as previously mentioned, you can mod your guns to suit your liking. You can give it acid, electricity, or you can make it lock on to enemies. Again, this is great. There are also returning weapons from the first game, however, these don't upgrade, so I don't use them often. But Ratchet and Clank isn't just about the weapons, because there's also the gadgets, which are just as important. The gadgets in this game are awesome. The 3 returning ones are the swing shot, grind boots, and gravity boots, and they're all back, and in the case of the gravity boots, are better than they were in Ratchet and Clank 1 by a long shot. The new gadgets are pretty good too. The Dynamo allows for some great platforming challenges, the Hypnomatic allows you to control robots that totally flex on you, the Charge Boots are rad, the Therminator allows you to freeze bodies of water, the Tractor Beam was cool, and it's all very fun. Every single music track in this game slaps. I've provided a link in the description to a website called Ratchet Galaxy that has all the songs from this game for download. David Bergeau, the music composer for this game, did an excellent job. You just need to go check it out for yourself. Yeah, that's all I need to say for the music section. I barely scratched the surface of this game's greatness. The story is amazing, the humor is top-notch, and the characters are fantastic. There's a hidden Ratchet and Clank museum in-game, which I'm showing on screen. There's a New Game Plus, and it's the greatest video game of all time. I give Ratchet and Clank 2 Going Commando the official rating of an A++. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked what you've seen here, please consider supporting the channel by liking this video and subscribing. And I'll see you next time.